insides have been shredded.
It's Dr. Cole Parsons, physics genius. He leased a place up at Lynx Creek about 15 months ago.
I gotta head out to Lynx Creek. Gonna need some transportation.
Something happened to this house since I last saw it. It's not the same.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 horror film The Breach. The film is directed by Rodrigo Godino and it stars Alan Hawko, Emily Alatalo, Natalie Brown, Wesley French and Adam Kenneth Wilson. Now the film focuses on a local sheriff called John Hawkins. It's a quiet, small, lazy American town, and he discovers a body, a horribly mutilated body that doesn't make any sense. They manage to figure out that it is the body of a scientist called Cole Parsons, and about a year previously, something like that, he chartered a boat to take him further up the river to a shack so that he could do his scientific experiments. He decides to retrace the scientist's step, the sheriff. He takes the guide with him, who is somebody he has had a really previous relationship with. And once they get to this shack, they realise that things just aren't as they should be, and it is very, very clear that they're in grave danger, and the shack itself might harbour some real other dimensional dangers. Right, what are my thoughts on The Breach? Well, if you like H.P. Lovecraftian type movies, there is quite a lot here to enjoy in that aspect. It's quite a highly polished film. There's a great deal of competence in how the film has been made, how it looks. There's some nice cinematography, great idea, great concept, and some solid performances by everybody. Interestingly as well, the executive producer of this film is Slash from Guns N' Roses. Don't really know how that adds to the film, but it's an interesting snippet, I suppose. And it's got a great setup, this film. However, I think the thing that really lets this film down is, number one, its pacing. It feels like it's all set up and everything happens in the last 15 minutes. And it's just, you can feel, it's one of those films that you can feel things building. As soon as they get to this shack, they find this horribly mutilated body. And then they get out there to this shack. And it's the old cabin in the woods trope, you know what I mean? It's classic horror film stuff, isn't it? They get in there, and it's got some weird equipment in there, all this kind of stuff. And then the person that they go in there with is this guy called Jacob. So there's three of them go up there. Kind of gets stung by something and falls ill fairly quickly. And things are happening, but it just takes too long to get there. And then it's got some fairly clumsy ways of giving us the exposition. There's assigned back at the town, there's the deputy, if you like, of the sheriff's department who hasn't gone with the sheriff. She's having video calls with somebody who knows about this scientist Cole Parsons and is warning everybody of the experiments he were doing and all this kind of stuff. And the film didn't need it. The second they get to the shack and the second they see this dodgy equipment and the pictures of these creatures up on the wall, you don't need a face on a computer to tell you that this scientist, Cole Parsons, has been messing with stuff he shouldn't have been messing with. So there is some clumsy exposition goes off. And then out of nowhere, the scientist, Cole Parsons' wife turns up, played by Natalie Brown, who interestingly was in the Strain TV show. I thought I recognised her and then I realised who it was. And then out of the blue, Cole Parsons turns up as well, this scientist. So it keeps throwing stuff at you and then nothing happens. It's just all build up, it's all set up. And then by the time the film decides to, really become a horror movie, you've almost lost patience with it a little bit. And it is a real shame because some of the visuals, when we actually get there, are pretty horrific. I mean, there's some decent body horror going off throughout the film, or it hints at body horror throughout the film. It never fully commits to it, if you like. It never fully commits to the Lovecraftian approach, never fully commits to the horror. And it is a real shame because, as I've said, when you do get the horror visuals later in the film, they are very nicely done, I have to say, the effects. Certainly up close, when you see them at a distance, not so effective, I suppose. But for a film of this budget, and I mean, obviously this isn't a micro-budgeted film or anything, but compared to, like, you know, middling cinema releases sort of thing of horror films, it's not in the same bracket. But I have to say the effects I thought were pretty decent overall. And I thought the idea of the film was pretty decent overall. I like these dimensional horrors sort of thing, you know, where you're kind of crossing into a different dimension, and they always have got like an interesting edge to them if they're done even half competently, and this film is definitely done fairly competently. I don't really have a problem with the visuals. I don't really have a problem with much of the direction. The performances are all very, very solid, as I've mentioned. It's just the pacing and the constant hint of things happening, and then the film just constantly making you wait and wait and wait. Now, sometimes that can add to the tension of the film, or the anticipation of what's coming sort of thing. For me, it got to the point where you knew this character or this thing or this was going to happen, or this wasn't right, or if someone goes in this thing here, this is likely to happen. The guy that's, you know, came with them that's poorly on the bed, you know what's going to happen to him pretty much. It just takes too long to get there, and you want to get to the good bits by the end. So I think this had the potential to be better than it is. I did quite like the ending that we got. It's a competent film. It's just, for me, a shame it couldn't just deliver a little bit more, because I would have liked to have recommended this a little bit more than I am. But still, if anything of this sounds interesting to you, then probably give it a shot. I don't think you'll feel as though you've hugely wasted your time with this one. I certainly didn't. I just feel there was more potential with this film. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please click the like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.